Commander Walter Ruiz, R-U-I-Z.
Good morning. I'm Commander Walter Ruiz, and I represent Mustafa al-Hassawi. I'll start by answering a question that was asked a little bit earlier, and I can't recall who asked it, but I think the question was along the lines of, what is the defense's goal? What is the defense's strategy? Who asked that? Okay. Okay. What I can tell you is this. Each of us have taken an oath, and that oath is to defend and support the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. We take every single word of that oath to be almost sacred. What is the defense's goal? What is the defense's strategy? It is to assert every single right. It is to hold our own government's feet to the fire, to ask them to uphold every single aspect of our Constitution, to ask them to do and practice what we say in words, what we have in aspirations, what we have in desires, what we have as a collective will, to see it in the process, to see it in the practice. Not just on paper, but in practice. I can tell you that we cannot accept assembly line justice. We simply cannot. We cannot be just process oriented from point A to point B. We must be quality oriented. It's not just about process. It's not just about getting from point A to point B. It's about how we do it and why we do it. This is hard. This is not an easy task. But nothing worth having is ever easy. And this is going to be hard on everyone involved. The participants, the lawyers, the family members. Nothing worth having is ever easy. I'm not ready yet. I have some few more. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing that. But it's not empty words. You've heard a lot of rhetoric. Many of you have been here for a very long time. Some of you have said to me, there's nothing new that I have heard. And you know, at the end of the day, that's true. Words are empty. Actions speak louder than words. And what I would urge all of you to do is not to confuse the spokesperson with the process. Do not do it. It's not enough to have us up here in fine-looking uniforms, reading carefully prepared speeches to tell you that this is a fair process. It's just simply not enough. Look, this is why advertisers go out and get athletes to sell perfume or underpants. Because the feeling is that the consumer will confuse the product with the spokesperson. We as a nation cannot allow that to happen. We must not allow that to happen. Not with my words, not with my uniform, not with the general. And I will humbly submit to you that the general is accomplished and tremendously experienced. He's got an incredible pedigree, a chest full of ribbons, and he's got all the credibility in the world and is fully deserved. But not a single word that comes out of his mouth, not a single speech that is prepared can legitimize this process. Absolutely not, any more than any words that I have to say. One of you asked, how did you feel about the proceedings yesterday? How do you think they went? I think they went terrible. The reason I tell you that is because we had some measure of hope. And that measure of hope was that this court, that this judge, with the issues that we put before him, legal, factual issues based on congressionally mandated rules, would be heard. And they were not, because it was all about process. It was not about quality. Process guy. Well, we're quality guys. All of us are quality guys. That's what we're after. This process transcends the individual actors. It transcends me, it transcends the general, it transcends all of you. Let's just not say this process is fair. Let's not take every podium we can find and say this process is fair. Let's show that it is fair. When we put a motion before the court that questions the court's authority based on a rule passed by our Congress, based on factual actions, let's hear that. The Supreme Court of the United States says Judge Pohl had the discretion to hear that motion. Absolutely did. You've heard time after time him say that I'm a law guy. I follow the law, the Constitution of the United States. The Supreme Court of the United States, I was able to finally put the citation for the case on the record, says you have the ability to do that. You don't have to go from point A to B to C to D when there's a real question of authority of the court. That question comes from the process. Now, for most of you, you think the curtain went up yesterday. This has been an ongoing process. For the past year, we've been waging a battle. Beyond the cameras, beyond the lights, beyond the quotes, we have been waging a battle for the soul of this case, for the soul of this process. All you saw yesterday was when the curtain went up. All you saw yesterday was when the participants were raced up into the Coliseum for the pleasure of the masses. What we have been trying to tell all of you, and what we have been trying to speak, is about the quality of our process. It's about meaningful opportunities to engage in this process. Things such as translation services, the ability to speak to a person whose first language is not English. In federal court, you would never even be engaged in this type of conversation. I tell you, I've been there. I've practiced there. So have all of these men and women. We're not just talking about federal court on paper. We've been there, lived it, and breathed it. Legal access to legal materials. Well, it's easy to dismiss that and say, that's just about not getting mail. But it's not. Again, it's about the lifeblood of an attorney-client relationship grounded in constitutional protection of the Sixth Amendment. If that is to mean anything, we have to give it meaning in practice and not just in rhetoric. That's what it must be. It's also about having the appropriate security clearances so that the experts that are granted, that are given, that are funded can carry out their most basic and essential functions. If I gave you a gun and said, now you can defend your home, but I didn't give you any bullets, it is the same thing as having nothing. That is essentially what has happened in this case and continues to happen, and why those of us who are sworn to uphold the law, the letter of the law, the living, breathing law, our constitutional aspirations, get up in court, make the arguments that we make, because we believe that through the process, hopefully, we can have actual transparency and not just rhetoric. That's what the defense is trying to achieve.